Good morning and welcome to the Geyer Barn. I'm Karen Billard and I'm Managing Director here at the Hyannis Harbor Arts Center at the Geyer Barn. And with me this morning is artist Joe Diggs.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Great to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Very excited about your show coming up on the 14th. There's an opening reception that evening from 7 to 9. And the show runs from the 14th through the end of the month. And Joe, one of the reasons I'm so excited about having your work here is that you really work in a number of different styles, really at the same time.
Right. It's going to be exciting to be able to show it all here. There's not a lot of places that I have the opportunity where I can bring out large-size canvases and show those next to my little itty-bitty tiny canvases. And so, yeah, it's going to be really nice. It's going to be nice to show the dichotomy of what I do.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just nice to be able to show at the Geyer Barn. It's going to be really, really a great summer for me. So thank you.
Oh.
Thank you very much for making it happen.
Wow, so glad to have you with us. One of the things that I think is so interesting about your work is that you're as interested in pushing the materials you work with as you are in the subject matter of the paint. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, that's there's. Sometimes I call it adult coloring because, I get excited about just actually applying the paint or whatever I'm using at the time. I get a certain amount of physical enjoyment of just actually pushing and pulling the materials, which you'll see a lot of times there's scrapes and there's dragging and that kind of stuff that happens. And basically what's cool, what's fun for me to see it come together in itself. It's kind of, some of these are like you look at the clouds when you're a kid and looking up at the clouds and going, I see a dog, I see a cat. And a little bit of that has a little fun playfulness. My work tends to have a certain amount of seriousness to it, and I was debating. I enjoy looking at other people's whimsical type work, and I always kind of went like, geez, I'd like to bring some whimsy into my work somehow. But the truth of it all is, it's not really me. The whimsy stuff really isn't me. If you know me, I mean, I do have a weird sense of humor, but the whimsy part would be, it's almost like I'm trying to jam it in. So instead of trying to push into an area that I'm not really familiar with or comfortable with, so I started just dealing with the materials in a lot more casual, comfortable way. So, I started melting down crayons and just getting my hand out of the paintings, and these I'm actually moving and scraping the paint more than, there's no brush strokes. So it becomes a lot of fun to be able to...
I'm going to pull aside here because I can see a lot of the working into and scraping away happening, especially down here in the painting, a little more of leaving the surface here, but very, very interesting, and it is layers and layers.
Yeah, even to the point where in some of the top areas are wax. It's wax. I'm actually bringing wax into the whole profile of the art. So it does develop. I mean, it just keeps developing, and there's more and more layers, as you said. And then you try to get back to the bottom line. As I keep building up, I try to scrape back just to remind myself where I've come from, where I'm going. There's a whole lot of there's a lot of back and forth that happens with this. So you end up, you get, and it helps create that multi-layered, multi-textured feel. And so,
right.
Yeah, that's.
And is that the same that's happening in this piece here?
Pretty much, actually, Karen. And this one was one of the beginning of the series. It was also one of my first true acrylic paintings. I used to paint more on the oils, and I had a stack of acrylics sitting there for a while, and the oil paints ran out a little bit, and the finances said, geez, 34 bucks for another cadmium red, or are you gonna grab those acrylics? And paint is paint. That's how I look at it. If you can paint one of them, you should be able to paint them all. It's all colors, just move it around, let's see what it's all about. So I've been playing with the idea of just laying paint on top of the surface and letting it dry and see exactly how it responds. Right. So there was some spray, and there's some of that going on. Yeah,
well, it's very interesting the way that the paint is sort of speckled in here. It looks almost like it's reacting to what it's laid on top of. Right. That it's sort of pulled into itself and dried in that way, and it creates an interesting quality of luminosity, especially in that area, but also up in that area there.
Yeah, it does, and it also sets up a pattern You know, I like the idea of intervals. So it gives you like a random interval, if you will. So there's these odd patterns. It's the same kind of shape, it's the same kind of color, but it kind of pops in and it goes out and it comes back and forth. So that's really where that's at. That's what that was all about. And just the movement, it's the movement of that big blue, you know. And it looks very much like a landscape. It does have some landscape orientation to it, but the thought wasn't to go out and create a landscape. It was really to put this blue movement over top of something that people could understand, but they wouldn't understand.
Right.
So there's a movement of blue over top of something that kind of made some sense to them. And once again, it's my idea of whimsy. It's my kind of way to take a little idea and twist the theme a little bit.
It almost looks, I mean, you've established sort of a landscape feel with the horizon line and some other elements in the painting, but it also, that blue almost gives you the impression that you're looking through something else into the landscape.
Into the landscape, yes.
Yes, very interesting.
Much so. You know, and it's got that rhythm thing that goes on. You know, it's almost like the ribbon in the sky, or you know, my Magic Carpet Ride, or something like that. And what I enjoy so much is listening to other people who, when they look at it and they come up with their own ideas of what it sounds like. Because my experience is to make it, but the best experience is the experience that it takes on to someone else.
Isn't it interesting?
So that's really where it's at. You know, I mean, I kind of feel myself as just being the medium that creates this stuff so that other people can take the worth out of it sometimes.
Well, I often feel that the most successful pieces that an artist does, it may be one thing to an artist, but it's that piece's ability to become something else to the viewer.
Isn't that the most important part of it? It's not really, you know, I mean, I know that we come to the table as artists, we come with a certain agenda that we're trying to fight through. I mean, no matter if it's a personal issue or political issues or whatever that you're trying to say, but whatever, if you're not saying what you want, you know, you have to have the audience be able to receive what you're saying as well. So it's just like a regular conversation, it's like a regular relationship, you know, how, you know, you can say whatever you want, but the other person has to be able to understand what you're saying.
That's true. That's true. But it is so interesting because for us as artists, a lot of the art is in the process.
Right.
And once the painting is finished, that's when the viewer comes to the piece.
Right.
So they have to find a way into the painting to engage with either the subject matter or the process or something.
Or hopefully maybe even both.
That would be that's ideal.
That's a winner chicken dinner, isn't it? When you can get everything working, and you know. And I think with that, you know. That's another reason why I work so many different ways, because that gives me this one opportunity to reach people in this way. But then there's other ones. You know, I live in a fabulous piece of property where there's ponds and you know, so landscapes have always been a very integral part of my art, and so it's nice to be able to bring the landscape to it, and then it's nice to be able to combine the two of them, so it gives me actually a third level of painting at the same time. So, and then I'll throw you know, a portrait or something on top of that, just to kind of bring myself into it, if it's a self-portrait or somebody who's maybe had experiences there at the pond. So it really goes on and on and on, the levels and the areas that you can go. It's amazing. The world of the arts are fabulous.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the interesting things about being an artist on Cape Cod. There are those that are, you know, very literal in their interpretation of the landscape.
Right.
And some really beautiful work is done here in that vein. But there is also a whole other way of engaging with the landscape and being inspired by our surroundings. That is, you know, a little more subliminal, maybe a little more. Maybe sophisticated, but certainly, you know, pulling that inspiration into the work that is not necessarily such a direct
correlation. Yeah, I agree with you. And you know, here at Cape Cod, we have a lot of retirees who come back to Cape Cod, you know, after spending summers, and they start painting, and so we have a large group of artists that are here, and it's amazing. You know, sometimes those people, and I shouldn't say just them, but there's a group of really Cape Cod painters, lighthouses, etc. And sometimes I used to be one of the guys who made a lot of fun of them. Now I'm really starting to understand their worth. I mean, they come here and they put a big body of work together, you know, and it might be a little bit stereotypical of what we're used to, but that just shows the incredible beauty that Cape Cod has to offer, and for me.
Oh, great. So again, the opening reception is on Thursday, the 14th of June, from 7 to 9 p.m., and the show runs from the 14th through the 29th, that last Saturday. And I'm so excited about having Joe here, and if you want to find out more information about Joe, you can either go to our website, which is hyartsdistrict.com, HHAC, or you can go to Joe's website, which is
JoeDiggsArt.com.
There we go.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you,
so
Joe.
much.